This is an overview of Chapter 3. Chapter 3 is focused on racism and racial inequality. In this chapter, you will learn that sociologists think of race as being socially constructed. What that means, very briefly, is the idea that society constructs meanings for different concepts, different ideas. In the US, we primarily use race as a social construct that describes physical appearance. Okay, so according to the US Census Bureau, I am white, of Hispanic origin, not white, not of Hispanic origin. No one's ever treated me as white my whole entire life, and I'm 61, so it seems silly to me to even categorize somebody like me by race. But the US government does, and so you'll learn how, in my view, race is really not helpful. It's not a helpful way to understand people. There's also a discussion in this chapter about prejudice and discrimination. Both prejudice and discrimination can occur at the interpersonal level, but also at the institutional level. So we can be racist between people, but institutional organizations can also be racist. In addition to that, discrimination can be person-to-person discrimination, interpersonal discrimination, but it can also be institutional, at the institutional level, at the level of organizations and policies, etc. You will also explore in this module the idea of white privilege, but not just white privilege. I want you to think about the privilege that you have, because we all have privilege. In the module, there is an article by Peggy McIntosh called Unpacking the Invisible Knapsack. You will read that article, and then you will write a brief paper about your own privileges, because we all have privilege. Two of mine, identifying as heterosexual and identifying as a person born in the US, my nationality. Having US nationality means that I have some privileges. If my parents had stayed in Mexico and had not come here and I had not been born here, I would not have had the kinds of privileges that I have had as a US citizen. My other privilege as a cisgender heterosexual female is I can show affection to my spouse. I can hold his hand, I can give him a kiss, etc. No one's going to look sideways at us. But if I were a lesbian, I might not be able to do that with my female partner, because it might not be safe everywhere to do that. So the paper is asking you to be very reflective about the kinds of privilege you have. And we all have some, as I said. Could be based on nationality, sexual orientation, gender identity, religion, lots of things. It's listed in the paper. Also, you will learn about how economic, cultural, and social capital play a role in racial inequality. So economic inequality, that's easy to quantify. We see that some people have more money than others. In the United States, wealth typically opens more doors and opportunities for you. So because white families typically have a higher level of wealth than Black families, they're able to provide the more opportunities and privileges to their children. Social capital and cultural capital, though, are not as easy to quantify, or they're not as tangible, but you can see it. Cultural capital is understanding what the society around you expects for proper behavior. So if you know how to act in certain social situations, you will be more accepted by mainstream society than others. Now, this might not be that important typically, but if you want a job, you're going for a job interview, knowing the expectations for proper behavior might land you the job, not knowing might get in the way. Social capital. Example for myself, I don't have any children, but if I did, say I had a daughter, third year, finishing up college, tells me, Mom, I'm thinking about being a lawyer. I do what any smart parent would do who has the social capital I do. I'd call around to people I know who work at law firms and say, hey, my kid is thinking of being a lawyer. I want her to do an internship this summer. It doesn't have to be paid because I can afford to do that for my kid. And lo and behold, I helped my child get an internship at a law firm for the summer. I can do that for my child because of my social status, because of the connections I have, because of my social status. So that's social capital. I hope that you find this chapter fascinating. I do, and I think it is really very relevant given the situation, the society we're in right now.